All right, everyone, UFC 316 was this weekend. I'm going to give you the matchmaking video for everyone on this fight card that most of the winners, some losers, and we're going to talk about who their next fight should be in the UFC. I thought it was a pretty decent card, and it left us with some questions on like who's next, why they're next, where they're going to fight. So I'm going to break that all down for you right now. We're going to start with Merab versus it's gonna be Corey Sandhagen. I mean, it should be. First of all, I get Piotr Jan's like kind of Piotr Jan could get a title shot. Like if he beats Marcus McGee, there's also that. But I get a feeling that Merab versus Corey is gonna get booked sometime in the fall. I'm thinking October. It could be on the Abu Dhabi card, honestly. If you had Merab versus Corey Sandhagen as the co-main event, I think it would be a. I think this is a good co-main event because I don't know that either of these two are selling a pay-per-view on their own. I think this could be a really good co-main event to like the Ankalaev versus Pereira fight. Could be a really good co-main event to maybe an Islam Makhachev versus JDM. But as you know, I want Volkan Evloev to co-main that. And I listen, UFC Noche is not going to be a pay-per-view anymore, so I don't think that they are going to stick this in Mexico for any or in San Antonio now for any reason. And they're probably going to be looking for a new date for a pay-per-view in September because as of now there isn't one, and they're not going to go a full month without a pay-per-view. I think they'll find a time. It'll just be at a different date, maybe maybe like 2 weeks later or something like that, or a week later. And this could be in there in September, but my money is this is going to be a co-main event for another pay-per-view fight in October in Abu Dhabi. I really think that that could be the case. You could see, again, you could see Islam versus JDM in Abu Dhabi. But I think JDM's, if he's smart, is like, nah, dude, I'm not fighting Islam in Abu Dhabi if he's moving up. I'm going to go fight in U.S. where it's even territory or something like that. I'm trying to think of like who else could be. It's not going to be like it's not going to be another Pantoja fight. They won't co-main to a Pantoja fight. It's not going to be, they probably won't co-main to like a Volk Evloev. They could, but they probably won't. It's not going to be the lightweight title fight, I don't think. I don't see it being like a 170 title fight because that's obviously the JDM one, so I don't even know what I'm talking about. It's probably not going to be Ilya. Ilya's probably not going to make a turnaround and fight on Abu Dhabi, even though maybe he does. This could honestly be a co-main to like an Ilya Topuria versus Justin Gaethje if Ilya gets it done. I could honestly see that happen, so keep an eye out for that. Maybe the Pereira-Ankalaev fight, so I think this is going to be a co-main event in Abu Dhabi, plain and simple. And it's the deserved title shot, I believe. Sean O'Malley's interesting because what do you do with Sean O'Malley? He's coming on 2 losses in a row to Merab, both in title fights. Before that, he had beat Chito Vera. He had knocked out Aljamain Sterling. He has a win over Piotr Jan. But then you look at the bantamweight rankings and you're like, could it be Figueiredo? I didn't do Figueiredo because I just don't think it makes sense. Figueiredo's coming off 2 losses in a row. Are you going to put him against O'Malley, have him have a 3rd loss in a row, and then you're like, well, now Figueiredo wins, don't age well? I don't think you do that. I think you have Figueiredo fight maybe someone else on this card. You'll see, but I think you have Figueiredo kind of waited out a bit, right? He's injured. We'll see if there's an up-and-coming contender. Like if Marcus McGee has a good fight with Piotr Jan but doesn't win, you could see a Marcus McGee fight with Davison Figueiredo or something like that. Maybe you can do Figgy versus Cejudo as one of those matchups or something like that. But I don't think O'Malley should have Cejudo either because Cejudo's only on a loss streak as well. And it just doesn't make sense for those guys to be fighting up in the ranking. I don't think the UFC will do that, even though Shug should get a pretty easy matchup coming in. And I think he's gonna. I think they can do Rob Font. I think this is very winnable for Suga. I don't think it makes sense for him to go up to 145 yet. I don't hate the idea of him fighting an Arnold Allen, him fighting a Lerone Murphy, him fighting a Yair Rodriguez would be a sick matchup. I think if he goes up to featherweight and loses, it puts him in a weird spot because he's coming off 2 losses in a row at bantamweight, and he's coming off a loss at featherweight. Like, then what do you do with Sean O'Malley? All the hype's gone. Realistically, the fight with Merab kind of made sense, but it almost looks now that the UFC kind of rushed him into a spot where, all right, let's get him another title shot, and now it's kind of killed the O'Malley hype. He's coming off 2 losses in a row. O'Malley's a guy that, you ride high off of the hype, and they kind of rushed him into that, so I think it was tough. I think that's a tough decision for the UFC to make. Obviously, hindsight's 20/20, but that's how I feel about it now. Rob Font's coming off a couple wins in a row. He beat Jean Matsumoto on Seattle, I'm trying to remember who he beat before that because he's also coming off other wins in the division. Like, yes, he lost to Figgy, but this guy's actually coming off wins. He's ranked like number 8 behind Cheeto Vera. You could have done O'Malley versus Batista, but they've trained together before, and I think they're friends, so I don't think they're going to end up doing that fight. So when I look at this, I think, well, maybe we have a situation where it's Rob Font, where he's coming off a win against Gene Matsumoto, and I apologize for looking at my phone. I'm just trying to see the wins before that. Yeah, he's coming off back-to-back wins. Kyler Phillips, Gene Matsumoto. I think it's time for him to get his little chance to take a jump in the rankings. People are saying maybe he'll be the one to fight Piotr Jan. Let's do Rob Font versus Sean O'Malley. I think it's going to get Sean O'Malley back in the win column, and it's against a guy that has a 2-fight win streak right now. So let's have that one happen. I say O'Malley should look to get back in there at the end of the year in December. The December pay-per-view, Rob Font, Sean O'Malley. You can do a 5-round co-main event because it's O'Malley. You can honestly, it would be great if this was a feature fight or the main event of a fight night. But O'Malley's pay-per-view, he's always going to be pay-per-view. I think you do O'Malley versus Rob Font, feature fight of the December pay-per-view behind 2 different title fights. I think that would make a lot of sense. Font, again, coming off 2 wins. Figgy and Cejudo are 2 of the other matchups. They're coming off losses, like multiple losses now, and it doesn't make sense to give them a jump in competition. You could do Umar, but dude, like, Umar's not an easy fight. And I don't want to be the guy that's like giving O'Malley all these easy fights, but the dude just had Merab twice in a row. If you give him a fight with Umar and he ends up losing and you give it to him in like Abu Dhabi where he could get robbed as well, if you give him that fight and he loses, all the O'Malley hype's dead. And then it's like, well, now he has to jump to 145 because you have no interest in him at bantamweight. And you kind of force his hand. I don't like that for O'Malley, dude. He's 30 years old. He can grow. He's going to get better. I say you give him the 5.5 months off here, and you have him fight on the pay-per-view in December, which will probably be UFC 324. I think it's going to be UFC 324. So I say Sean O'Malley, Rob Font, feature fight of that card. Behind 2 title fights. Moving on, Kayla Harrison, obviously, versus Amanda Nunes. This is 100% the fight to make. They've already squared off in the octagon. It's obvious. The one thing I ask, don't make this a fucking main event. I could so see the UFC trying to gaslight everybody into saying this is one of the most badass fights we could ever make. Dude, it's still WMMA. It's the biggest WMMA fight you could make, but it's still WMMA, you know? Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes. It's an intriguing fight. There's nothing in the division after this. You don't need to rush it onto October, but I say, dude, make this the co-main of the MSG pay-per-view. It'd be great. Another spot where you could have Topuria over there fighting in MSG for the first time, which would be sick. And he could main event if he beats Charles Oliveira. You could have Pereira Ankalaev there, right? You could have Jones Aspinall if it ever ends up happening. You could have that there. So I just think that Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes is the perfect co-main event to another title fight for MSG. So that's where I'm saying it should happen. Kayla Harrison, Amanda Nunes, MSG co-main event. Moving on, it's going to be UFC 323, by the way. Moving on, Joe Pyfer. The body cam was on for a round, and then it got turned off. I think he should fight Abus. Listen, he did beat up Kelvin in, the first 2 rounds pretty much. Round 3 kind of let things slip away. Abus also, he's ranked 15. I think Piper's ranked worthy in terms of talent, I'm going to be honest. Even though his performance was a little underwhelming, it's fucking Kelvin. Like, he expected to knock him out, and he almost did twice. I think if you match him up with Abus, it's going to be interesting because both guys throw crazy power. Abus is more diverse with his striking and has more to throw at him. I don't think Abus can wrestle Joe Pyfer. Joe Pyfer might be able to even wrestle Abus in this matchup, but I just think it's like 2 guys at middleweight, little bit of underwhelming performances in their past fight each time, but I think they're both ranked worthy. So I'm going to say Abus versus Joe Pyfer is a pretty good fight to make. It's the 15 ranked guy versus Joe Pyfer. It makes sense. I was looking at the Mikel Pereira matchup as well. I don't know that Pyfer should be looking at that. I think Mikel Pereira needs to get back in the win column, and I just don't think he will against Joe Pyfer. I wouldn't fucking take that fight if I was Mikel Pereira, but I think this makes sense. Joe Pyfer, Abus Magomedov, do this on UFC 321 in Abu Dhabi, right? Main card opener, Joe Pyfer versus Abus Magomedov. I think it makes a ton of sense. I think it's a very intriguing fight. and I think they should make it happen. It's Joe. I think he deserves to get a chance back in the rankings now. He lost to Hermanson 3-2, right? Hermanson's not in the rankings anymore, even though his last fight was a win against Joe Pyfer. But the inactivity, like, I get it. Then you have Joe Pyfer bounce back with 2 back-to-back wins. Marc-Andre Barriault, a flatline KO, and then Kelvin Gastelum, a decision. So I think it makes sense to have this fight. Then Kelvin Gastelum, Marco Tulio. I mean, I think this is a sick fight. It's like, how long can Kelvin Gastelum's chin last? Like, you thought he could have gotten chinned by Joe Pyfer. I did think he was going to get chinned by Joe Pyfer. He didn't. Now we're going to try Marco Tulio, someone that hits very hard, not as hard as Joe Pyfer, but has a lot more diverse striking and throws a lot more volume. So I think Kelvin versus Marco Tulio makes sense. If they go to Brazil for a fight night, this is a great main card opener for that fight night. Kelvin Gastelum versus Marco Tulio. I think it would make sense. Mario Batista, I mean, impressive win. I'm going to say Cheeto Vera rematch, book it. He could sit out and wait for Figueiredo. I think Mario Batista versus Davison Figueiredo makes a lot of sense. I'm just kind of in the air with Figgy where I don't know where he stands right now. I don't. Like, is Figgy going to come back early 2026? If he does, this fight could make sense. If he's going to be out, but like if he's out till March, I don't think Mario Batista should be waiting 9 months to take a fight. He's in his prime right now. He's 31 years old. Or he's 30 years old, maybe. I think it should be Mario. I just rebooked this because I think Mario Batista is going to be able to make a turnaround for October. Maybe make this a fight night co-main event. Vera versus Mario Batista, co-main event of a crowded fight night. I'd like to watch it. I think Batista wins this fight probably, but it makes sense. Vera's still ranked 7, and now looking back at the performance that Patchy Mix had, you're like, I don't even know if he's ranked worthy in the UFC. Mario Batista robs Aldo and then beats a Patchy Mix who may not win a ranked fight in the UFC. So I think the Cheeto fight makes sense. Gets him really in the top 10 in an impressive spot. So I think rebook that fight. It'll make sense. And I'm going to say fight night, co-main event, maybe fight night 5-round main event, crowded in October. I think Mario Batista should be looking to turn around. He's got some momentum. You know, he took how many months off? He took 8 months off last time. Don't wait that long this time. 4 or 5 months. Make it happen. Patchy Mix versus Jonathan Martinez. Jonathan Martinez is just outside the rankings. I think you're looking at maybe Montel Jackson's another fight that you could have, but you have Vinicius Oliveira booked. You have Ayman Zahabi just took a fight against Aldo and won, but you're not going to have Patchy Mix fight that. Like, he just got dominated by Mario Batista, who's ranked 1 above Ayman Zahabi. You have Vinicius Oliveira and it was Kyler Phillips fighting each other, which I just said. Keep repeating myself. I don't think Patchy Mix necessarily deserves one of these fights. Again, Montel Jackson could make sense, but if I'm Montel Jackson, listen, I just defended against a guy outside the rankings in Daniel Marcos, and yes, it was underwhelming, but it's time to look up in the rankings. Maybe a Montel Jackson versus Ayman Zahabi makes sense. Something like that. So I think Patchy Mix versus Jonathan Martinez, who's just outside the rankings, makes great sense. And we'll see how he hangs. Like, we'll see if he can implement his grappling here against Jonathan Martinez, or we'll see if he just gets his legs absolutely chewed and if Patchy Mix even belongs in the UFC. So I'm saying Patchy Mix versus Jonathan Martinez is the fight to make. Patchy should make... I know he got busted up a little bit, but he should make a quick turnaround, dude. He should be looking to make a quick turnaround. I say you put this on the main card of Noche. Patchy Mix, Jonathan Martinez... feature fight of the San Antonio card in Noche. Maybe main card opener of the fourth fight down. I say between 3 and 5 on the main card is perfect for this fight. Perfect for this fight on Noche because Jonathan Martinez, he's from Texas. He's got the Martinez name. He's a little Mexican, so I'm going to say this is the time to have it. Kevin Holland versus, obviously, Colby Covington. Take advantage of this call-out. He made a great call out. I want to see this fight. There's going to be shit talk in the lead up. It's going to be one of the higher, like, hyped fights. I say you do this. Kevin Holland wants to return in the fall. You can make this the... Honestly, like... I think Holland can turn around quick, bro. Again, it's making 170. So I say if he wants to stay on schedule with fighting maybe 6 times or so... He says he likes to fight in Texas, but the weed laws want to change, so he doesn't want to fight in Texas. Honestly, you can make this the main event of a fight night in front of a crowd somewhere. Kevin Holland versus Colby Covington. I don't hate that. Or you can make this the fourth fight on a pay-per-view, the feature fight on a pay-per-view that's not as loaded, maybe sometime in Nate, dude, honestly, they may be able to look at Kevin Holland in like a month and say, bro, how about we squeeze this one onto the Dricus Duplessis versus Hamza Chimaev card? How about we do that? It would make sense. It is a good addition to that for the press conference purposes. If you have DDP versus Hamzat on that card, and then you have maybe another lower level title fight on that card, right? Or you have a women's title fight like a Zhang Wei Li versus Verna Janjadova, or if Zhang Wei Li goes up and fights Valentina Shevchenko, and you have this as a feature fight or the fourth fight down, it's going to help the press conference a lot, and it makes sense. So I say this one is a feature fight, maybe on Chicago. If not, the September pay-per-view that they end up making, make this the feature fight. Vicente Luque versus Mike Malott. I think it makes sense. Mike Malott, good win over Radke, has 2 wins in a row now. He did lose to Magny, but now Vicente Luque is probably going to be out of the rankings or ranked 15. They want to promote the guy. Say do Luque versus Malott, UFC Vancouver. I think they're going to go there in November again, or maybe October. So I think it makes sense. Joshua Van. He wants UFC Noche. I say give him Moreno, bro. Listen, I get Moreno's beaten Urseg like by a close, not pretty looking decision, and he dominated Albazi back to back. But before that, he had 2 losses, so he's 2-2 in his last 4. Yes, it was to Pantoja and Royval. Dude, I think Joshua Van's ready. I think he's ready. He wants Noche. He's ready for a quick turnaround. He didn't really take damage at all except for the legs against Bruno Silva. I think he's fucking ready for this. And honestly, with how Moreno fought Steve Urseg and Brandon Royval, I think he's going to struggle a little bit here against Joshua Van, and Joshua Van could be a new name that we insert into that top 5 that gets himself ready for a title shot. He could. And if he loses, it's like, oh, well, he lost to the number 1 Moreno. Like, he isn't necessarily ready for that, but, he can fight Perez after, okay? Like, he'll fight Alex Perez, and they'll probably get a win there, and then you keep building him back up a little bit. Then he gets another grappler in Asu Almabayev. Then he gets a shot at the Royval or the Cop or something like that. So I say Joshua Van versus Brandon Moreno. UFC Noche, 5-round co-main event. I think it'd be great. Do Yair and Diego as the main event. Van versus Moreno as the co-main event. It is fucking perfect for 5 rounds. And dude, Moreno's kind of low output at this point. He's been very low output the past couple fights, just trying to wing overhands. He's not knocking out Joshua Van. He doesn't have the power for that. And Joshua Van, I think, can out-volume him and out-cardio him. I think he can out-cardio Brandon Moreno. I'm going to say that. And he can outbox him. So I think this is a great fight for Joshua Van. He can sprawl and defend the takedowns of Brandon Moreno. I say Joshua Van, Brandon Moreno, make it fucking happen, dude. Co-main event, UFC Noche, 5 rounds. Moving on, Bruno Silva. I say Andre Lima. Andre Lima has a fight coming up next month with Felipe Bunez. I think Bruno Silva's going to need a little bit of fucking time off. He took a beating. But if you put this on the December pay-per-view prelims, Andre Lima, Felipe Bunez, I think it's a great fight. It gives Andre Lima his 3rd fight of the month, or 3rd fight of the year. Same with Bruno Silva. And Bruno Silva's in a position where he needs to defend his ranking spot. He's coming off a couple losses in a row now. 2 losses in a row, actually. And Andre Lima's a guy that's going to be deserved to jump in the rankings. So I say Andre Lima versus Bruno Silva. Prelims of the December pay-per-view. Azamat Mirzakhanov. I'm saying Jan Blachowicz. I'm seeing a lot of people say Volkan Ozdemir. I think that we're going to see Dom Reyes versus Alexander Rakic. I think we're going to see Yuri versus Olberg. And I think Mirzakhanov deserves a jump up. Sure, it could be Volkan Ozdemir, but I'm willing to bet Jan wants to fight before he has to get forced into retirement somehow. Right? He's not the youngest, right? And he's coming off a long layoff. Didn't take a ton of damage versus Olberg. I'm willing to bet he's ready to get back in there. I say you put this on the pay-per-view in... Actually, you can do this as a fucking fight night. I'm okay with Blachowicz versus Mirzakhanov. Fight night main event, Poland. That would be sick. Fight night main event, Warsaw. Mirzakhanov, Blachowicz. Make this fucking happen, dude. Mirzakhanov's coming off another great win. He's coming off multiple great wins, bro. He's destroying people in the division. He's very good, and he deserves his jump up. I think Blachowicz, it's defend your spot, man. And I think Blachowicz could be a tricky fight for him. This is a real test. Main event, 5 rounds, Mirzakhanov, Blachowicz, UFC Poland. And then you get to have Gamrot on the card. You get to have Rebecki on the card. You have some of this Polish talent on the card. You can put Ludovic Klein on there. You can make this shit happen. Moving on. Waldo, I think he robbed fucking Sergey Spivak. So what he gets is the fucking Sergey Pavlovich treatment. You think you're top 5 ready, buddy? You made it to the top 10? You think you're ready to fight in the top of heavyweight? Pick your poisons. Jalton Almeida absolutely topples you over and submits you, or Sergey Pavlovich knocks you out, or Curtis Blades ground and pounds you with elbows, or Aspinall kills you. Like, pick your poison. I say Sergey flatlines him. I think we're due to watch Waldo get fucking flatlined, and I think Waldo versus Sergey makes sense. This is gonna be a fucking co-main event of the fucking Abu Dhabi card. Not the pay-per-view, but I think it's... I don't know, bro. Maybe not. I don't know. Put this on some fucking fight night as the co-main event, please. Feature fight, even better. Waldo versus Sergey Pavlovich. They're probably not going to rush it because they have no idea what to do with heavyweight, but I think this is the fight you need to make. Moving on, Sergey Spivak, Martin Budai. Spivak's coming off 2 losses in a row, arguably a win. He's going to have to look down in the rankings. I don't want him fighting Lewis again. We've already seen that. Shamil Gaziev, I think, deserves better than the Sergey Spivak fight. I think there's other people high on, like a Tybura that he can fight, or like, I don't know, someone else higher up in the rankings, honestly. Like a Tuivasa fight I'd love to see with Shamil. So there's other options I want. And I think that it kind of leaves Spivak versus a Martin Budai who's ranked. It could be Kennedy and Zechniku as well, but it just feels like a spot where if Sergey Spivak loses, they're paying him money. They're going to cut him for no fucking reason. I don't want that to happen like it did to Jair Zinho, because heavyweight's thin as it is. So I'm going to say Spivak versus Budai. Andres Gustafsson. Good performance. Themba Gorimbo. Another guy who's very physically strong, likes to get involved in the clinch. I'd love to see how this one goes. So I say Themba versus Andres Gustafsson sometime in October. Makes sense. Then we're going to have Wang Kong. She called out Jessica Andrade. I say give her the Jessica Andrade fight. Get her ranked in the top 10. Right? She's in top 15 right now. Get her in the top 10. Then in the top 5. Then she's contending for titles. She's that good. She's going to be fun to watch. I say Wang Kong, Jessica Andrade. Some fight night. I don't... Oh, when they go to China. They're going to go to China in fucking, I think, August. And I'm willing to bet Wang Kong's been super active. She's going to be willing to turn around and make that. So I say Wang Kong, Jessica Andrade, UFC fight night. Whenever... I think it's going to be Shanghai this time. You can put it on the fucking main card. I'm actually okay with it. I'm okay with Wang Kong. Pause. I'm going to go with, for the next one, Ju Sang versus Yadier Deval. Ju Sang Yu. Wow, I'm never going to get that shit right. Ju Sang Yu had a tremendous knockout in 26 seconds. Listen, I want him fucking turning around and fighting in July. Right? If he can make the weight cut, turn around, fight in July. Yadier Deval is also coming off a knockout win. Makes sense. Put them against each other. Let's see who's the real prospect. I think it's Ju Sang Yu. But let's get this guy, a good win streak, so that way we can start talking about him being a prospect, and then we can start putting him against the fucking the Andre Limas and stuff like that. Not Andre Lima, the Andre Phillies, and the Melquizel Costas, the Julian Arosas, and fighters like that. Quellen Selkild versus Jordan Levitt. Simple. They're both coming off wins, back-to-back cards. I think it makes sense. Let's test Quellen Selkild's wrestling a little bit more. And let's see if he can actually shine on the feet in this fight against Jordan Levitt. And let's see if Jordan Levitt's actually solid, or if he's just subbing guys that don't know how to defend takedowns. Makes sense. They go to Australia for the fight night. It's going to be there. Moving on. Lastly, Markel Medeiros versus Tom Nolan. Put this on the fight night in Australia. I think Markel Medeiros deserves the jump up in competition. I think Tom Nolan's in a good spot where he's got a couple of wins in a row. This would be very intriguing to me. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed the matchups. If you did, let me know. Like and subscribe. If you didn't, let me know which matchups you'd rather see.